go to the masjid, over here normally you go to the masjid, you have
Put
a
your
shoe
shoes.
rack. Over there they have gun racks. So.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, and welcome to today's episode of the Unscripted Podcast, where we have a nice, light-hearted conversation with some interesting guests, and we have a very interesting guest today indeed. We have our Sheikh, Dr. Ali Ahmed, all the way from Big Sheikh from San Diego, California, USA. Assalamu alaikum to Allah, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Of course, Sheikh Ali Ahmed, those involved in dawa and the community here and obviously in the US and California will know who you are. But I
Not
want
to forget Malaysia as well.
And Malaysia, mashallah.
Yeah,
So we want
8 years over there.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
We want to get to know a bit of your background and
Okay.
what makes you tick and stuff, and the things that you're involved with, the different pies that you have your hands in at the moment. But I guess the way to introduce you would be you're currently a member of the Islamic Council of Europe, and you're kind of heading their expansion on their conquest into the United States of America.
Allow me to return back to America first, and then you can make that statement.
Yeah, we'll publish this after you return safely, inshallah.
Okay, good.
But just a few. One of the things we do with some of our guests is rapid fire questions to see, how your subconscious ticks a bit. So just ask you a very simple question. Just the first answer that you can think of. Just blurt it out. Like tea or coffee?
Coffee. Because I take both, right?
Okay.
So
you asked me to make it. I have a coffee right now. You have a tea. So I was thinking you're going to say tea.
Okay.
But mashallah. Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
UK or USA?
UK.
Oh, mashallah. You're doing great. I was about to introduce you as a mashallah big American patriot.
No, good. Yeah.
I don't think you're one of those types of mashallah Americans. America is very patriotic compared to.
I refuse to comment on any of your insinuations. So
we will be publishing this after you return safely to USA, inshallah.
Okay,
so you can gloves off now. You can be yourself. But is that something you noticed over here that people, apart from things like Jubilee celebrations that we're kind of on the cusp of, there's not really much patriotism and nationalism in the UK. It's more reserved for racists and stuff.
No, actually,
but in the US,
most of the conversation that you have with people, what you hear, even amongst the Muslims, right? It's all about these types of celebrations, and it's about the king, or not the king, but the queen or the prince and the royal family. But you rarely hear anything with regards to the prime minister or what's going on. And it seems
people normally hate him.
Yeah, and it seems like I don't know what it is. Is it they put the love or the veneration of the royal family, from a young age? I don't know what it is.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, her face is on all the money.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I mean, our president's face is on all of our money, but we don't really venerate them the way.
But I mean, from TV programs and stuff, we see they stand for the national anthem in schools. And
what about here?
No, never. That would be laughed at. I think there's just
but that's not venerating a particular individual. That's like the flag, right? Whether we agree or not, that's irrelevant. But from their perspective, they are for them it's the Constitution and the flag, and everyone else is below that, right? Just like how we have it, right? We venerate the Quran and the Hadith, and everyone else falls below that as well. So,
did you find it more, less, or about the same level of patriotism between UK and US?
Just
different symbols.
Yeah, it's just different symbols, or the way they express it.
Yeah,
it's also different. But I think every single country nowadays, whether right or wrong, they do have some sort of expression
Yeah.
of loyalty, whether to their particular tribe or country or ethnicity.
I went to a conference in Turkey once, a few months ago, and it was like Muslims and imams and scholars and stuff in the audience and they just got up for the national anthem, and I was like, whoa, this is quite new.
They have this in Malaysia as well.
Yeah.
Right, they have that. You have to get up. Me personally, I don't get up just because of my personal beliefs. Whether it was in Malaysia or even in America, I don't get up. And it has nothing to do with that particular country's,
was this before? What's his name?
Yeah, this is from a young age.
Kopernik?
No. I probably was. I probably was the precedent for him.
Yeah. He copied the Muslims.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so Britain or UK or USA? You choose the UK. Show the visceral reaction, mashallah.
Okay.
Biryani or naan?
Biryani.
Cake or gulab jamun?
Cake.
What kind of cake?
There's a few. Tiramisu.
Mashallah. Gotta be careful with that one though.
Why? Because of yeah.
Has to be prepared by a Muslim or.
Yeah, well, in Malaysia, that's all we used to
mashallah,
eat. Yeah.
Mashallah. All right, so some non-food related things.
Okay.
Football or cricket?
Which football?
Oh, that's a good sharp one.
Yeah, American football or
American football or baseball?
No, American football.
I really don't understand that. I don't understand our football either, but too much. But that's really confusing.
Why is it confusing?
Because you have to stop all the time, and you probably need some lot of strategy. And
you need rest. You need rest.
Yeah. Probably more fun to play. Street Fight or Mortal Kombat?
Street Fight.
MashaAllah. Glock or Beretta?
Ooh. I personally have a Glock.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's why I asked this, because when I was doing some research on you, one of the mashayikh said he loves his guns.
Yeah. No, I have a Glock 26.
Those are the only two guns. I know AK-47, I know Glock, and Beretta. I know that tiny...
it wasn't. It was a shotgun.
Yeah.
It was a 12-gauge shotgun I had.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah.
So I hear you're quite a gun enthusiast.
Well, from a young age, yeah.
Is that because you're American or because Afghani background, right?
Yeah, so that is a lethal combination right there.
What would you do if there was like a...
I mean, the Second Amendment powered by,
Afghan weddings.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, some parts of Afghanistan, it's not all parts, just in some parts, when you go to the masjid, you have, over here, normally you go to the masjid, you have a shoe rack. Over there, they have gun racks. So,
mashallah. Yeah. Is that something in the US as well? Budding in the US, but...
No, they don't have gun racks there. But
US is quite... Are you one of the kind of pro-gun
No, I am.
No,
I am. 100%.
What would you do if if there's any debates about, gun control? You've seen this shooting.
Yeah, I can't tell you what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, what am I going to do if they pass a law?
I mean, any debate. It seems to be one of those.
Well, look,
hot
some
topics of debate,
what the so-called right wing are promoting is very much in line with our core values, right? And one of them is the right to have access and bear arms, and that is very, well from the Islamic perspective as well. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in which he said, "Whoever used to know archery but they left it is not from us." Hadith in Bukhari. So, if you have guns, you should be able to use it in a way for self-defense. Okay, you don't know what's going to happen, especially nowadays with the gun violence. The only way to repel that is not with flowers, right? You have to repel. You have to defend your family with what? With guns.
But doesn't that lead to like just a whole society of just with gun violence on the like a main?
So if you
like
put
UK for example,
how's this? If you put legal restrictions on law-abiding individuals, what they're going to do is they're not going to resort, they're going to abide by the law. They're not going to resort to buying guns from the black market. Whereas the criminals, they have that access. So that equilibrium, it's not going to exist. At least right now, it's somewhat existent. Where people like myself, we have access to legally buying and obtaining guns. So if there's someone, if there's a criminal, at least I'll be able to manage it and balance that with, you know, I have a bigger gun than you.
Just thinking, is that the first time anyone said this in the podcast? Probably yes. Do you feel a bit unsafe then when you come to UK, or do you feel safer, or what?
I feel the same.
Yeah.
I think
even though there's not many.
I mean, look, the crazies are always going to do something crazy, right? No matter what they use. Maybe knives, right? Box cutters, whatever it is. So it's not, you know, the instrument necessarily. It's just that probably America has more crazies. Because what I heard is Switzerland has the same laws with regards to gun ownership as America, but they have nowhere near the gun violence in Switzerland.
Really?
Yeah. So
one of the things I'm interested in is just, okay, how would you legislate in today's day and age from the Sharia perspective, you know, and bring statute law, different laws in different countries closer to the ideal, you know. Closer
well,
to
look, you know, if you kill someone without a just cause or extrajudicial killing, he deserves that qisas, an-nafsu bin-nafs. You set that as an example for a few people. That's it. That particular, you know, craziness is probably going to go away, because when people look at, oh, okay, if I commit this particular crime of killing, I'm going to be killed in return. They're going to think twice.
Unless
as opposed to, as opposed to, oh, I'll just be locked up, or, you know, declare insanity, or whatever it is that, you know, nowadays they're letting criminals just go.
Well, one thing that interested me, though, that was your PhD was in Qadā. Or something, right?
Islamic Judiciary,
Islamic Judiciary and judgment and courts and that kind of stuff. So this, how did you get to that point of that interest? Could you maybe tell us about your background and how you kind of, your Islamic journey into, so were you born and raised in the US, or?
No, I was born in Afghanistan, then we migrated to the US at a young age. So I did my you know, primary, secondary education in the US. I got a bachelor's in biochemistry, worked in the industry. And then, but from very early on, I wanted to further my Islamic knowledge. Really didn't have an opportunity. Once that opportunity was afforded to me, or once I found it, then, you know, the journey started for the next 10 years, alhamdulillah. So my PhD was, in brief, in Qadā, and then, of course, a subtopic would be in Muslim family sector. And the case study, in order for it to be more relevant, would be, you know, a particular country. And I chose the UK. And now you could see why I chose the UK, right? So I chose the UK as a study case. And the approach that I took was from a legal maxim perspective.
So you're looking at minority.
I'm looking at I'm looking at the legal maxims pertaining to Qadā in Muslim minority context. And so the case studies that I was doing was with regard to the Sharia councils throughout England. So, and the hope is that, you know, this could be used by others throughout either Europe or even North America to see what some of the Sharia councils are doing here, the reputable ones, and how they can improve. And but that's one of our aims and goal, inshallah, in the very near future.
Inshallah. Our meaning Islamic Council.
Yeah, Islamic Council, and we'll be having branches in different parts of the world.
I do want to talk about your research in particular, but how did you end up there? You were born in Afghanistan, raised in USA. And then you end up doing a PhD about Sharia in UK from a university in Malaysia.
Yeah.
How did that work?
Well, if you look at it that way, yeah, it is interesting. But it just tells, I guess you could say, you're not... Okay, it tells you a few things. That you are trying to stay connected and relevant with your home base. It tells you that there is a vacuum in the body of knowledge when it comes to this. And it tells you that through academia, you can probably raise more awareness than if you were to do a podcast. Can you do
the judges, the jury's still out on that one.
Okay.
But mashallah. Okay, so what was your research into? So you said the broad kind of topic is looking at Muslim family law within the context of Islamic judiciary of Muslims as minorities.
Yeah, so obviously it's going to be limited in scope. You can't have criminal law here, implementation according to the Sharia. And so
unless you're in Birmingham.
Okay, I'm not going to comment on that.
That was a joke.
Okay, so...
No Sharia, no go zones.
We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to burden us with something that is beyond our capability. But something that is within our capability, such as the family unit, the nikah, the divorce, the khulr, the fasakh, the inheritance, the financial dispute. This is all well within our remit. And if you don't arbitrate and adjudicate your cases according to the Sharia of Allah, then what does that tell you about your connection with Islam, your love for the Sharia, for Allah? What does it tell you about your commitment to the Sharia overall, right?
One of the things you hear people say, though, is Sharia is, one kind of whole unit. You can't pick and choose. You can't implement some of you have to implement the whole thing. What do you say to that kind of argument?
I think it depends in what context they said it. So first of all, I cannot say they are right or wrong. It just depends on the context, what they mean. But I think the ayah, okay, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ, fear Allah, have the taqwa of Allah as much as you can. And also, لَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. So you go ahead and have that. Like, for example, here in the UK, this is something, my first time I've actually experienced it, and that is the, what is it? The twilight...
perpetual twilight.
Yeah, perpetual twilight that you guys have, which means your sun supposedly sets at 9:15 p.m., right? Which means you pray Maghrib. But then it doesn't really set completely to the point where now Isha comes in and you can see the stars and it's complete darkness. So what do? Do you completely just leave out praying Salat al-Isha? No, you will go ahead and calculate it in a way that you say, okay, in a normal setting, this is how it's going to be. And I will go ahead and you will still fulfill that. And even if your ijtihad is wrong, you will still get one reward. Yeah. But if you don't pray while you know you should be praying or you can pray, then the punishment is there because you can't disobey Allah based on ijtihad. Right?
So just because you can't implement everything in Sharia, doesn't mean you're off the hook.
Yeah, so there's qaida fiqhiyya, there's a legal maxim which says that if you can do parts of it, you don't leave the whole part. So you go ahead and do what you can, and if you can't, doesn't mean if you can't do the whole, doesn't mean you shouldn't or you can't do the parts.
Completely resonates, and it's very rational as well, and it's a reflection on real life as well. That you can't.
Like, for example, this podcast, I said they told me it's 1.5 hours, 2 hours. I said I can only do 1 hour. And you guys had a take it or leave it. But I was able to convince Mahmoud, the producer, let's do 1 hour because I am invited somewhere else.
He needed some fiqh in his life. MashaAllah.
No,
الميسور لا يسقط بالمعصور.
Mahmoud, mashallah, he's very passionate about his, some of the...
Note to editor, just put a picture of him on the screen right now, just for people to know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this type of conversation is, unfortunately, is quite controversial now online.
Which conversation?
This whole issue of implementing parts of the Sharia. Some people would go so far as even, you know, calling people sellouts and this kind of stuff, and it's really kind of toxic in some quarters. Yeah. They have a good intention in that, you know, they don't want people to ignore.
No, but
parts
if you
of
look
Sharia.
at even the da'wah organizations, right, which is apolitical, meaning it's just da'wah. You don't call them hypocritical. Let's say, for example,
I don't.
Okay. Well, I'm not referring to you. Let's say a particular da'wah organization only concentrates on the youth. You don't call them hypocritical because they don't concentrate on the family unit. Or they concentrate on non-Muslims. You don't call them hypocritical because they don't concentrate on the Muslims. Or they only concentrate on, for example, look, the da'wah has so many different shades, right? Different spectrums. And there's just so much work that you could do. Instead of replicating things, what we should be doing is complementing. Let's say, for example, you have Sabil, right, which also one of the murabbins for. They are doing something from an tarbiyah usul perspective, right? And then you have other organizations that are purely from a ilmi, ibadah, ritual perspective. You have some that take a very so-called limited view, one madhab only type, and then you have others that will teach the same topic but from a multi-madhab perspective. And you can't really say, oh, he's doing wrong, because every single one has khair.
Yeah.
And every single one have shortcomings.
It's just like when the Prophet ﷺ said that the ummah is like a body.
Yes.
You know, your hand doesn't do the same job as your foot.
Yeah.
And your brain and your,
And because I'm in the I am the Islamic adjudicator in the Muslim family unit, right? So I tell this to certain families. I say, when it comes to preferential treatment of some of your children over others, this is haram in Islam, right? Because to create animosity between close members of the family like this is prohibited. And that's why you cannot will any part of your inheritance to any of your inheritors. And that's why a person who wants to marry, a second wife, he can't marry a close member of his wife, like his aunt, his sister, and so on, right? Because naturally polygamy will bring about, jealousy, and Islam seeks to limit that, as much as possible, at least within the nuclear family or the close family. So, and so one of the advice that I give to your parents, that even if you have a child, a son or a daughter, who's really not contributing anything to the family, whether it's in terms of, respect or financial resource or whatever it is, right? Don't kick them out. Don't distance them, because one day they are going to come and be useful while others cannot. And I give the example of a spare tire.
I've been called worse. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you're...
Okay.
You know what we call a spare tire, right? A donut.
I have one.
Stop.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, so a donut, sometimes, it may never, for the life of the car, may never come in handy.
Wow.
But you have the security, knowing that if it does, I have that. Likewise with the cell phone, right? I remember when the cell phones first came out, mobile phones. You guys call them mobile, we call them cell phones.
Yeah.
When they first came out, people were saying you should get it because if you have a flat tire in the highway or freeway, or you're able to call a tow truck. And you're like, but what did we do before? See, in America over there in the freeways,
we actually have phones here anyway.
Huh?
We have phones on the motorway.
Yeah, so over there as well, they
Yeah.
have them every 1 mile or 1.6 kilometers in your case. So every
We use
1
miles
mile.
as well.
Huh? You guys use miles?
Yeah,
So you took
on
it
the
from-
roads.
Huh?
On the roads we
Okay.
use miles and stuff. Miles per hour.
Since
and-
when?
Since miles were invented.
No.
Probably over here.
No. You look at it.
Yeah.
When it says 50, does that mean 50 miles per hour?
Yep. So you've been speeding.
No, I've been under speed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm
We
going
thought it was
50
50,
kilometers.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
It's worrying if you've been driving around here and you didn't know that.
Well, yesterday we were driving extremely
Mashallah.
slow. Everyone was passing by
Yeah,
us. Okay.
that's probably why.
So you see people will go ahead and buy a cell phone, even though they weren't businessmen, right? Because when the mobile phones first came out, who were the ones that were buying it?
Yeah.
Right?
Businessmen
People who
and
had
drug
business-
dealers.
Yeah, and drug dealers. So either you were a drug dealer or a businessman, but still you would see family members, especially the husband, will go ahead and buy one for his, his university going child, right? Just so they can have that
Can play snake.
peace of mind.
Mhm.
So, treating family members, especially your kids, equally, whether they are contributing or not, because unfortunately in such a materialistic world we're living in, you have money coming, financial stuff coming in between, even parents and their children. And even one of the major cause, according to, look, we adjudicated 1150 cases in 2021.
Wow.
Or we took, I should say, 1,150, more than that, which is a large number of cases that we took compared to 2017, in which it was about 300 cases. So you see the exponential growth, and that tells you that people are trying to seek their solutions by living with, through the divine laws and guidance. So the number one reason disputes and talaq and these things happen is because of financial. People will go ahead and use money as a reason to break their contact and their relationship with their wife, their husband, their parents. People give a loan to their own father.
SubhanAllah.
Whereas there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, of course the authenticity is disputed, but nonetheless the scholars still use it, especially in the realm of Qadā. And they say, Anta wa maluka li abik. You and your wealth belong to your father. What does that mean? I'm asking you now.
What does it mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? What's the ramification of Anta wa maluka li abik?
It means you shouldn't give him a loan.
Okay, but tell me if from a judicial perspective. That's from an ethical perspective. Give me since we're on the topic of judiciary. What does that mean? What's the ramification of anta wa maluka li abik?
I don't know. I guess so. I'm assuming it's not. I mean, from a legal perspective, it's not the case that it's completely, mutlaq, a statement.
Okay, let's not go into the usul part.
Yeah.
Let's say you and your wealth belong to your father.
Yeah.
Okay.
That he can dispose of it how he wishes. He can take from your wealth. He can.
Yeah. Good. So that means if your father takes your wealth without your knowledge, he will not be accused of stealing, and his hands will not be cut off. And if a father kills his son, let me make a disclaimer. I'll make a disclaimer. Yeah, we're talking about from an Islamic judiciary perspective.
Not the ethics, but the legal ramifications.
Yeah, and we're not. So if he was to kill his son, he would not be killed. It doesn't mean that he wouldn't be punished in other ways. It's just that he would not get the capital punishment, which in a normal case he would, right? Of course. And why is that? Because what what came from you cannot be a cause of your demise. What came from you, you can't be in return a cause of his demise. Yeah, at least that's what the scholars they try to explain. Of course, look, there is a differences of opinion amongst the scholars, but from according to some of the scholars, this is the ramification. But coming back to what I was saying earlier about finances, how it's splitting families. And you have, they come to us and say, can you tell me what is my right over him? Or what is her rights over me? I still remember I told one couple, I said, okay, brother, sister, let's not talk about rights. Because if I was to tell you what rights you have over him, you will be shocked. And what rights he has over you, you will be shocked. So let's come to something that works for the both of you, right? So for example, what's the right of the wife over the husband? That he provides food, shelter, according to what he eats, right? And shelter and clothing. But how many clothing? 2 pairs of clothes a year. One in the winter and one in the summer. But are we really going to practice that and implement that and promote that? No. So what are we going to do? Say, okay, given the situation, let's not talk about strict, pure white and black type of... No, there's other ways. If you have the ability, you should spend. That's going to be sadaqah upon you. Yeah. If she gets sick, well, at least in America, right? Does the wife have the right of
medical bills?
Medical bills? Now, according to the classical scholars, no. According to some of the classical scholars, no. But is that a way to live? Your wife, for example, is in the hospital, right? And she fell down the stairs, and she has to get X-rays and probably an MRI. An MRI costs about $2,000, right? The insurance is not going to cover it, right? Or at least 100%. So you do have to pay it, but she doesn't work. So if you were to follow the class, and this is with no disrespect to the classical scholars, they said that in a particular context, in a given context and culture,
where, for example, her own father or brothers would her tribe would pay for everything. And
very good. That context does not exist now, and that's why what my topic was. The application of Qadā in a Muslim minority context. A Muslim minority context, right? So, I think contextualization of the text is very important.
This is quite... I see friends on social media and stuff, they say... They bring cases up like this quite often where maybe sisters might be... unfairly treated according to them by the husband in a case kind of going to Sharia court or council and saying divorce or whatever, and she doesn't get. I mean, you have this I suppose dichotomy, right? You have the Western the English courts over here, for example, where she might get half of everything, and then someone says, I want to live by Sharia. And then he says, so you get nothing or you get whatever. And they argue that because of this, women should go to the English courts because the rulings about what the woman gets in a divorce, they were in a context where the woman was financially looked after anyway because of the tribe, because of the extended family. But now everyone's fending for themselves.
So now, in order for us to go ahead and provide justice for one, we are now committing injustice to another. That's not justice.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
It doesn't make a right. And so Yes, it's understandable that in the context that we're living in, a woman who is going to be actually even in the classical scholars, they called it mata'. You give her even after the divorce. First of all, you set her free on good terms. That in itself is a huge thing. Forget about you can't buy that, right? You don't make it, what they term nowadays as dirty divorces, right? And even if there's 5 kids, 4 kids, whatever, and she has dedicated her life to raising those kids, she doesn't have a career, she doesn't have anything, what is going to stop you from going ahead and still paying for the rent for her? She doesn't have any family members, especially if it's a revert sister that got married. We have cases like this. So it should not stop him that, look, now you're no longer my wife. Because currently I have a case like that, in which the husband and wife are separated. They're not divorced. The husband initially refused any nafaqa, maintenance. But later on, he came and he said, I have a few kids with her. What is she going to do? Yeah, purely from a theoretical fiqh perspective, she doesn't need, because she falls under a rebellious wife. Nushuz, right? But it doesn't mean that you will go ahead and withhold nafaqa with the intention of harming her. If it's with the intention of teaching her a lesson, look, and make her realize, then that may be okay according to your ijtihad. Like, for example, the scholars, they mentioned about an individual who will divorce his wife while he's on his deathbed, just so he will deprive his wife from inheritance. Or he has a terminal sick, not even on his deathbed, he has a terminal illness, and he's going to die, let's say, in 6 months. And the Maliki scholars, because of their, they lived sometimes in a very minority context, like in North Africa, even in Spain. So they were, to a certain degree, ahead of, in this particular field. They said, no, even if you divorce her and her iddah is over, and he dies after the iddah period, she will still get the the inheritance according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has specified, which is 1/8 if there's kids and 1/4 if there's no kids. So the Sharia has put those things, ihsan. So,
but these are things you can't really legislate for in a judiciary setting, right? Because it's about the black and white of what does the law say.
No. So what we try to do is push for them to have an out of court settlement. Don't go through the lawyers. Don't go through. Settle your different. And actually,
no, I mean within the Sharia council.
Even within the Sharia councils, we tell them to go ahead and settle this with family members. So they're coming to us, and we're sending them away. Seek that agreement with family members. Yeah. Seek that agreement with your senior family members. Get that agreement.
حكما من أهله
حكما من أهله وحكما من أهلها. Yeah. إن يريد إصلاحا يوفق الله بينهما. That when they want, islah, reconciliation, then Allah will give them the tawfiq, the ability to go ahead, the guidance to go ahead and do it. So even when they come to us, that's why some of our cases are not adjudicated within a month, 2 months, 3 months, because we keep on sending them off to go ahead and reach an out of the Sharia council settlement. And that is, look, for long term. Actually, this is a nasiha by Umar radiallahu anhu. Yeah, رُدُّ الْخُصُومَ حَتَّى يَصْطَلِحُوا. Turn away the disputing parties until they reconcile. Why? Because the majlis, the sitting, the session of a dispute is something that really causes long-term effects. You know, you will always, that will really affect you. And who's going to hurt the most? It's you, your mental health, your kids. They're going to see, you know.
Yeah.
And people nowadays using the kids, their children, as a weapon to get what they want. That's not what the Sharia wants. That's not why the Sharia legislated these things. That's why the topic of the objectives of the Sharia, the maqasid Sharia. What is the objective of saying this is what you should do or you shouldn't do? If we don't look at that, we're going to lose focus. And we're going to apply something that may not have a context. And
it's probably just a lesson in why Sharia councils are so important. Like those that are properly run.
Yeah, Sharia councils that are reputable,
regulated
by who?
Amongst themselves.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. Yeah. Regulated.
Because some people will look at maybe take a ruling from a book from 1,000 years ago and start applying it on themselves and saying this is my right.
So you don't mean regulated. You mean like having relevancy and contextualization. Yeah.
I mean, it is one thing I wanted to discuss about what your out of your research, what is your advice to and your call to Sharia councils and some people might call them courts or whatever.
Yeah.
But before that, we have a bit of a little segment called You've Been Served. We've got the results from, just to kind of wake up anyone sleeping, we've got the results from 100 people being surveyed. They asked a question, and you're supposed to guess what the most common answer was. Yeah, let's see how much relevancy we have here when we're answering this question.
Okay.
So, for example, these are food related because somebody said you were a foodie.
Now, what? Huh?
Somebody said you were a foodie.
Okay, I know who that person is. 100%. Yeah, 100%. I know who. Actually, I have suspicion.
We'll go for a steak afterwards, inshallah.
Huh?
We'll go for a steak after this, inshallah.
Okay.
Don't worry. Tell me a food that has hot in its name. So, what's the most common answer, do you think?
That has
hot in the name.
Hot wings.
Hot wings is number 4. 9% of people answered with that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think this is probably an American. One of them is hot tamale. I don't even know what that is.
Okay. No, it's a Mexican.
Yeah, that's
dish.
Probably that's why.
What was number 2?
Number 2, guess. Number 1 and 2, you haven't got yet.
Hot tamales was really threw me off.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Number 4 was hot wings.
Yeah. What was number 3?
Hot tamale.
You said number 1 was hot tamale.
No. Number 1 and 2 is still unknown. I know it because I've seen the results.
Yeah.
I got number 1, I think, straight away anyway without looking.
Okay.
It's quite common.
What is it?
Do you want to guess? Hot dog.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look, I've eaten hot dog maybe once or twice in my life.
Same here. It's not like that common here, but
yeah, but it's very common in the US.
It's a popular thing.
Yeah.
And the second thing you might put on your hot dog.
Hot sauce. Yeah,
hot sauce. Yeah.
I can't believe
so hot dog, hot sauce, hot tamale, hot wings, hot pocket, and hot peppers. Those were number 5 and 6.
Okay.
And the second question is only 2 questions. Second question is name a food that New York is famous for. We've been to New York.
Yeah. New York pizza.
Pizza is number 2.
Okay, and New York chicken.
Nope, that's not even on the leaderboard.
No, it has to be.
New York chicken.
Yeah. Okay, New York steak.
No.
New York sandwich.
Bagel. I'll give you that. It's kind of a sandwich.
No. Who said New York bagel is famous?
It's number 4.
Okay, according to the 100 people surveyed?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not academic or scientific at all. Yeah, where were they
That's true.
surveyed? I would like
They're
to know.
surveyed in Sialkot, Pakistan.
La hawla wa la quwwata.
It's Kabul. Anyway, number one and two. Come on, you can probably guess these.
Okay, which is?
Number one is the same as last time. Hot dogs.
No, what was the question?
Name a food that New York is famous for.
So I just told you.
Yes,
It has to be relevant. I mean, look, what I say counts as 100. How's that? Because I'm from.
No, that's
there.
not scientific.
Huh? No, that is very scientific.
This is
because
from a
that's
US audience.
contextual. Huh?
This is from a US audience.
Okay, interesting. It depends if they're in the Midwest and they've never seen New York. You know, depends.
From what is it? Okay, what is it famous, including to non-New Yorkers for? So hot dogs.
Okay,
That's
fried
number
chicken.
one. Fried chicken. I thought fried chicken was like a southern states kind of thing. Kentucky.
Yeah, no,
Tennessee.
fried chicken because over there,
Perfect.
especially, well, forget about Kentucky. They have Kennedy fried chicken. Kennedy fried chicken is it's a franchise, I think, and it's owned by mainly the Muslims, and so it's halal. But this is only in the East Coast, and given the population sector that loves chicken, you see one definitely in every single
In New York.
New York and New Jersey, actually.
Probably in
that whole
same
East
same
Coast.
thing with London as
East
well.
Coast, huh? Maybe.
You see a chicken shop on every corner.
Yeah.
But all right, and number.
When I came here, I asked Mahmoud. He picked me up and I rewarded him. I asked him. I said, "How are the fish and chips here?" And
he probably doesn't know.
No, he had it twice, and he said it's horrible. But what I've heard
In London.
Yeah, in London. What I heard is that London is known for its fish and chips.
UK is.
So now, did I go by the survey, or what I was told on on TV or the internet, or did I go by someone who actually has that experience?
But he has no experience.
I need to clarify. It's a brand called London Fish and Chips.
Huh?
The name of the company is called London Fish and Chips.
Okay, that's a huge fail on your part. Then. Yeah.
He just took you to the cheaper place, Sheikh. You need to come with the.
Which is what?
You need to come with the mashayikh of the فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون.
Well, I thought he was Ahlul Dhikr, but now he is,
No. He's from Ahl al-Bikr in this regard. Yeah, you need to go ask.
Let's come back to
myself,
Sharia.
inshallah.
Let's come back to Sharia.
Okay, so the second one was pizza, New York pizza.
Yeah, I mentioned New York pizza.
Really?
I mentioned New York pizza.
Maybe the editor can rewind it to double check.
New York, especially New York, giant pizza.
Yeah.
They have the foot long.
I had a giant pizza in
Foot
Costco.
long. You want me to measure
Foot
that?
long.
Yeah, foot long slice.
That's tiny. Oh, slice.
Yeah. Foot long slice.
Impressive.
So your one pizza is
Yeah.
equal to one slice over there.
That's
in
true.
New York. Yeah.
So, the diameter at least.
Hmm?
You have to take into consideration pie.
What pie?
The pizza pie.
Yeah, for us Americans, we can't see into your multi-layered, scripted, even though it says unscripted, jokes. So
Yeah.
I need to have translation of his jokes in order for me not to fall prey to it.
Or a sharh, maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe.
After we've gone and people, where some anthropologist finds the tapes, the recordings of this one day. We have a quote now.
Yeah.
Mahmoud wanted me to read out, and it's from an American scholar. He said, "Make sure children's hearts are tied to their parents.
Yeah.
Parents cannot raise children by proxy anymore. The old adage that it takes a village to raise a child is no longer valid. You can't rely on others to help because the social norms and limits that used to be there in the past don't exist anymore. The village is no longer in place. You need to be very conscious to tie your children's hearts to you.
Yeah.
You cannot be absent parents. The first place is showing your children to people who have an excellent marriage and showing them Islam worked in their home."
100%.
Yeah.
I may disagree just with one minor statement that he made in very early on. we can't depend on. What did he say about the
Others.
village?
That village is no longer in place.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Look, some of the masajid, they were asking me about if I could do youth programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how their focus is youth programs. And I told them, look, our focus should be the family unit. You have a functional family unit, the imam, the scholar, the youth director. He doesn't have to babysit the youth coming to him for the programs. All he has to do is just give a half an hour lecture and then, let them do activities. He doesn't have to babysit.
Yeah.
When you have a dysfunctional, broken families, what's going to happen? That kid is going to have a lot of issues. Do you think he's going to be sitting in that lecture or in that program really concentrating? He's going to be thinking, oh, I wish my father was like him, for example. Or he doesn't know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And why do you think he is loud? Why do you think he is, disruptive in the classroom, in that program? Why? He wants attention because he doesn't get it in his house. So whoever said that, to a very large degree, we cannot afford. And if you ask the kids, right, what is the obvious? Let me ask you, what is the number one excuse that absent parents, i.e. both working parents, what do they use?
Gotta pay the bills.
No. To make themselves feel good about it, what do they say as an excuse to their kids?
This is how we did it back in my day.
No, we were doing this for you. Right? You ask that child, say, don't do it for me. I want you in the house.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
This is a really, really big issue, but broader than our own family.
If you give a child, I'm talking about to a large degree, okay, a personal experience. When we were in Egypt, me, my wife, and my son, when we were there, I didn't work because I was just dedicated to studies. Same thing, my wife, she was dedicated to studies. Same thing with my son. So what happened? We went to class together. We came out together. Everything was done as a family. There was no TV. There was no watching, like YouTube or anything like that. And if we did, we would do it together, right? There was no video games. There was nothing like that. So what happened is my son would use his creativity to do whatever else, whether it was making things from cardboard boxes, drawing things. The minute I got so busy where I could not take him to certain places, right? Where do you think, what did he want to busy himself with? With something that could entertain him, whether it's video games or whether it's, watching YouTube videos. Why? Because the father, who is supposed to be the role model, right? He's not fulfilling that, or at least guiding him to that. So coming back to that statement, I think it speaks volumes. You could go ahead and do another PhD just on that and do case studies.
A lot of people, they bring their kids to the imam or something.
Yeah, thinking that he has a magic wand, okay, that can just fix his kid. No, he doesn't. And so, again, it comes back to the issue that it's a functional or a dysfunctional family.
But it's in large part, it's out of the control of the parents, though, because this is a broader. It's been happening for 100+ years.
But you can control
breaking up the family.
No, you can control what your kid sees, watches, goes, hears. You can control your behavior.
You can't control it if you're. If the system is geared up towards taking the child away from you at a young age with schooling, with now,
but
many people ask.
So, are you saying that you don't have the option of homeschooling?
I think we're homeschoolers, but we don't. I don't think most people have that option because most couples think that they have to both work now.
So this is what I'm trying to say is, we do have that option, but we are not giving that option a preference. And it's all about having that preference.
Unless they move
sorry,
somewhere
preference is not the correct word. Priority.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have the option of both parents working in order for you to live a certain lifestyle, but or one parent being a stay-at-home, yani mainly the mother. Yeah, it should be the mother. And providing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and so what is your priority? Is your priority making, money under the false pretense and assumption that this is for the kids? Yeah. Or is it, no, let me empower them with Islamic values, my values that I was raised. Right? So that way they can become the coolness of my eyes. Instead of the coolness of the corporate system eyes. Yeah. So they won't throw me away when I become old, right? They will take care of me. Why? Because I was there for them. But I threw them in daycare. Yeah. They're going to throw me in a nursing care. So if we don't have our priorities, every single person has an option. Maybe I shouldn't say every single person. Most of us, we have an option. Okay, let's say I'm not good in science or some of the subjects. I can have like a community within the same building, the same, network. Say, look, I'm good in math. You're good in English. They're good in science. Let's go ahead and my child will come to you one day. Will come to him. Even if
it's a far more natural way of learning as well than in school, in my opinion.
If you were to calculate and add up the total number of instructional hours, it's not going to equal 7 hours. Yeah. No, it's going to equal 2 hours. So who says, you don't teach them on the weekend or after you come back? I mean, there's so many ways around it. Okay.
So thinking quite radical. I like it.
Yeah, why not? Actually, no, there's another radical, you have the homeschooling and then you have the no schooling. No, that's actually, but it's catching steam though. Huh?
They call it over here,
sorry, unschooling. Unschooling.
I mean, homeschoolers, they tend to not like the word homeschooling anyway. They call it home educating. Because they're kind of against school.
when we worry about the semantics, then we lose focus of what it really accomplishes. But okay, home educating, just like before they used to say housewife, but now they says homemaker, right? But at the end of the day, she's a wife who's staying in the house, and she's making a home, right? So
what's unschooling then, or non-schooling?
Unschooling, I think, focuses on not the modern, curriculum that we know. But it's life skills. Yeah. Taking this apart and assembling it back together. So learning through experience. Yeah.
Makes sense. So you're saying basically that is really how we prevent the problems coming up in the first place.
I don't want to say the number one reason because there's just so many. But we could say that is one of the main.
So having a functional family where the parents are,
are you talking about the family unit I thought you were talking about the education. Yeah, I would say that is the primary number one
parents
reason.
Are present. They're showing the child through their own interaction how Islam can be lived and how good marriage can be done.
So let me give you in a different light. Yeah, let me explain it to you in a different way. The whole world is competing for your child. The Cartoon Network, the Disney Channel, the pornography industry, the alcohol, tobacco industry, the gang industry, everyone is competing. The government, right? The corporate world is competing for your child. Don't give it up. So easy. Equip them. Empower them. So that way when they go, they're equipped and empowered and they have like the shields. You can't shield them. Yeah. But at least you shield them in a way that they're still productive. And some form of shield is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to unshield them prematurely.
So that's how you maybe stem the problem, the marital problems, the family breakdown problems that are happening in the community. But once they how do you fix the problems that already exist? I mean, probably you're seeing an increase in number of cases of people coming to the Islamic Council. Probably an increase in divorce and these types of marital problems as well. And you mentioned you don't just want people turning up to any old council or any old kind of
because
imam
they
or
will
something.
be actually doing more harm. I think nowadays that people are probably a bit more mature in terms of specialization, just like how you have in medicine. You don't go to a regular doctor, what you call a GP, right?
General practitioner.
For brain surgery, right? You'll go, he can give you just very general,
or he recommends you.
He will recommend you, probably not even give you advice. The only advice he will say, look,
take some paracetamol.
No, maybe not. He'll probably tell you, look, I'm gonna recommend you to someone that I know. And likewise, if an imam or even a scholar, this is beyond his remit, he shouldn't take these cases. He should
like
give
judging
it to
between disputes and
judging
stuff like
between disputes, even if he's a mufti. And that's why in the Islamic genre, you have like a scholar of fiqh, a scholar of hadith, a scholar of usul al-fiqh, a scholar of ifta, a scholar of qadā, right? It doesn't mean they don't do ta'awun, because a qadi, right, which is one of the highest authorities in the Islamic scholarship, he should, to a large degree, consult with a jurisconsult, a mufti. Right?
Can you explain to the maybe just what the terms mean for an unspecialized audience? So you mentioned qadi.
Qadā. Qadi, it means an Islamic judge, and mufti is a jurisconsult.
So mufti is a person who gives fatwas.
Who gives a fatwa. But what's the difference between
fatwa
judging and judgment, issuing a fatwa, a verdict, issuing an edict? What's the difference? Forget about the English translation. What's the difference between issuing a fatwa and issuing a judgment? I want to ask you.
I know the answer, but I'm just saying for the purpose of the people watching at home.
No, I would like to hear it anyway.
A qadi is someone with authority, and specifically for a dispute, right? I think when a fatwa is a general ruling on something, or a ruling on a person, a qadi or a judgment would be, this person's coming to me when it comes to a dispute or something he has with another person.
Okay, very good. So those were the key words.
Did I get it right?
Yes. Those were the key words I was looking for. That a fatwa is for one person. Someone says, I slept in a sitting position. Do I have to make wudu? Whereas a qadi, you don't go to him for that. A qadi is when you have two or more disputing people. Okay, and the other secondary, or you could even say primary difference, is a fatwa is non-binding Islamically, which means if that fatwa doesn't sit well in your heart because it doesn't lack evidence, or you found it to be weird, or you wanted to get a second opinion.
You found a better one somewhere else.
Well, okay, maybe.
Fatwa shopping.
Fatwa shop. I wrote about fatwa shopping in my master's degree, but okay, so what is known as fatwa shopping. So you do have the option of not following that. Of course, making sure that you follow the Islamic ethos, that hawa, your desires are not there. Whereas in Islamic judgment, a judiciary judgment, is Islamically binding. Right? And in an Islamic state with a Muslim leader, it would be legally binding as well. Yeah, and so a lot of the people were asking me in the U.S., okay, if we were to do Islamic counsel, Sharia counsels in America with regards to family disputes, where it's not legally binding. I told them, well, it doesn't have to be legal. We can work on it. It would require a good team of
changing the law and stuff.
Just like the Beddin, the Jews, they have an Islamic judiciary system within the judiciary system of America. Why can't we have the Sharia within the judiciary system? And I think the judiciary system throughout the world has actually facilitated that. So it's
how does somebody know though that they're going? Someone has an issue. They go to the local mosque or whatever.
Yeah.
How do they know that the answer that person's giving them is a fatwa or qadā?
I mean, look, if
Or in other words, is it binding on me or is it not?
Well, it depends. If it's two people, that's a judgment between two people, and if it's one person, it's just a fatwa, right? So, but it does boil down to a person's taqwa, right? How much taqwa do you? Why are you going?
How do you know how does the person know that the person on the end of the question is qualified and properly?
Well, you have to do your due diligence, right? You can't just go. How do you know that GP is a good GP? What do you do?
Because of something you didn't want for Sharia counsel, which is regulation. There's external bodies that say, like the GMC, General Medical Council, very strict. If some doctor's doing something dodgy, they're struck off. They're not allowed to practice medicine. You don't have something like that for
No. My question was, why do you choose between 2 or 3 or a pool of 10 GPs? How? Why? You will go ahead and ask around. You will go ahead and look at results. And also an element of trust. I'm sure you're aware of the speed of speed of trust. So there's that element of trust, right? The element of competence.
Why are you against regulation then?
Who says I was against regulation?
You said we shouldn't use regulation, or is it because if it's something's regulated, it's prone for corruption or being co-opted?
No,
by
regulations in which field? I didn't understand.
A regulation of Sharia councils.
You're talking about from a legal point of view.
So, for example, I mean, Sheikh Haytham used to say this a lot and give us whenever we come to a lesson, he'd give some story about how some cowboy imam somewhere gave a khula without, following the due process and stuff. Yeah. How do we? Are you for regulating then these people that are doing qadā and having some kind of to stop cowboy imams?
When you say regulation, it implies some sort of a legal type of a backing. But what we can do is raise that awareness. That look, we make sure that who do you put your akhirah in their hands? Yani, just like how your health, you are so careful that you're going to put your health in the most competent surgeon, doctor, lawyer, right? When you're getting a divorce, you're going to get the best lawyer, or at least the one that you could afford, right? So when you are resolving your disputes, make sure it's someone who has competency to a high degree, because that's your akhirah, that's your deen, and you don't want them, that you don't want them to go ahead and issue erratic, decisions or judgments that are not based on the Sharia, not based upon some of the most basic principles of the Sharia, which is, for example, one of them is islah. Try that.
Try to reconcile.
Try to reconcile, because we have heard cases in which, like you've mentioned, some of these so-called cowboy imams would go ahead and end a marriage within 3 weeks. And one person, when I mentioned this to, he said that's a drive-by khula.
A drive-through.
A drive-through. You could even say a drive-by. Right? Yeah, drive-through khula. What is this? 3 weeks. Even if you go to some of the most communist countries, like China, they have a 4-month cooling off period. Meaning they don't even, you apply the application, they don't even do anything to your case until 4 months, because they know you're in such a emotional state. You're gonna say and do whatever it is. After 4 months, if that's really something that you want, right, then they will go ahead and process you, and then from there, they will, it will take 6 months, a year, 2 years. And so there's.
So I mean, this is a fascinating area, and I think, mashallah, Islamic Council is doing lots of great work, and it's good to see such an important, institution for our community and a symbol of Islam in public, really, where people are, mashayikh and imams from all over the country and even different countries now are coming and sharing best practice and sharing the proper due process of how to, take this this mantle of issuing Islamic judgments and Qadā seriously and with the proper protocol and due process, mashallah. As is the case normally with good and interesting conversations, I always have lost track of time, so I'm afraid we have to end it there. We have to get you to your next appointment and get you some steak and some nice food, inshallah. But Barakallah Fiqh, Sheikh Dr. Ali Ahmed, for joining. And Jazakumullah khairan you for joining at home. Thanks for watching. If you like this podcast, give it a like and a share. Remember to let us know in the comments below if you agree, disagree, you want to get involved in the conversation at all. And that's it from me. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.